Now let's discuss romantic essayist. The father of essays is Montaigne. He was a French writer and his famous work, Collection of Essays, was published in 1581. The father of English essays is Francis Bacon. Charles Lamb is called Prince of English Essays. Some of major essayists in the Romantic Age. First, Charles Lamb from 1775 to 1834. He studied in Christ College. He was a classmate of Coleridge and Hazlitt. He said, "Poet's poet to Edmund Spenser." His personal life is one of regions of his essays and other writings. Charles Lamb's sister Mary Lamb was mentally retarded, and it is believed that one of her fits of anger resulted in murder of her own mother. Charles Lamb described that one day the girl from the neighboring house came to play in the house of Mary Lamb, and Mary was angry about certain things, and she misbehaved with the girl and made her leave the house. Seeing this, Mary's mother started scolding her for this insane behavior, and Mary attacked her own mother. When Charles Lamb came down from the stairs, he found that the mother was dead and Mary was still stabbing her. Mary Lamb was taken into custody, where Coleridge, Hazlitt, they all helped Charles Lamb to prove that Mary was insane and she should not be punished. But as the legal proceedings went, they realized and found that it is unsafe to leave Mary free or to keep her out in normal society. So the judiciary ordered that Mary Lamb should be kept in a mental asylum, and there should be someone to take care of her, as leaving her alone is not safe. Charles Lamb was the only sibling she had, and he took the responsibility to be with her in the asylum. He was young and was in love with a girl, but seeing the condition, when his beloved asked him to leave his sister, he denied. So Charles Lamb could not marry in his life. It is believed that Charles Lamb and Mary would talk to each other, and they take a walk in the evening, going around the Christ Hospital and garden. They would discuss literature and ideas. Some of his works: Old Familiar Faces, written in 1798. Poem features the theme of remembrance of the old days. He talks about his relatives who left him alone and never come to help him. Second, John Woodville, written in 1802. It is an Elizabethan blank verse style tragedy. Third, Tales from Shakespeare, written in 1807, written in collaboration with his sister Mary Lamb. It is a recreation or transcreation of Shakespearean plays. Shakespeare's 20 plays have been recreated into children's tale. After this work became a success, he recreated the great stories of Homer like Ulysses into children's tale, a simple and lucid for the children. Essays of Elia, written in 1823. It is a collection of essays. Mary Lamb has written few parts of his essays under the pseudonym Cousin Bridget. Some of the important essays in this collection are Dream Children. Here, as we know that Charles Lamb could not marry, so he has his dream about his children, what kind of father he would be, what kind of parent he will become. It shows that he was melancholic or sad and wanted to get married and have kids. Second essay from the collection is A Bachelor's Complaint to the Behavior of Married People. Here he questions why these married couple make us bachelors feel that marriage is the most important part of life. He questions that my married friends take care of each other in a lovely way in front of me to make me jealous and to remind me that I am not married. He says that all my married friends who have kids and children are double-headed arrows. Third essay, All Fool's Day. He talks about the 1st April and says that real fools are those who make others fool. One, Old China and the Old and the New Schoolmaster. Then he wrote Last Essays of Elia, 1833. Second, the most important essayist is William Hazlitt from 1778 to 1830. He has been compared to Samuel Johnson and George Orwell. He is the best writer and critic. He is known as the first critic and critic's critic. He wrote his death note to his friend and said, "Well, I have had a very happy life." He believed in going into the depths of the art and became one of the first writers related to aestheticism. Some of his important works: An Essay on the Principles of Human Action, written in 1805, a reply to the Essay on Population by Malthus, 1807. In his famous reply to the Essay on Population by Malthus, Malthus believed that the uncontrolled rise in population will result in a disbalance in nature, and to create a balance, nature will create disasters to maintain those losses and problems. Here William Hazlitt replied this and related that to the control of population. He gives his ideas: one must support contraceptive and the government must make a rule of 2 kids. He also believed that there is some divine connection to this, that nature is controlled by God. So on the one side, God gives us a lot of boom in the population, and on the other side of the earth, God does balance. So it's in the hand of nature only. Third work, The Round Table, written in 1817. It is a collection of essays written in collaboration with Leigh Hunt. Lecture on the English Stage, written in 1818. Character of Shakespeare's plays, written in 1870. He talked about the tragic characters and praised them, whereas he criticized the comic characters. Cordelia, Rosalind, and Viola has been praised. A View of the English Stage, written in 1818. It was a complete theatre review of Elizabethan England stage, Restoration stage, and Augustan stage. So it's a comparative study. My First Acquaintance with Poets, written in 1823. He talks about his first encounter with Coleridge and Wordsworth in 1798. He describes Coleridge as the only person I ever knew who answered the idea of a man of genius. He says about Wordsworth that Wordsworth has the eyes to see nature. Writer Thomas de Quincy, 1785 to 1859. He ran away from the grammar school at Manchester, finding the instructions far below his abilities. He talked about totally different content. His thought process is totally different, and his ideas are unique. He became addicted to drug. In his works, life was seen as nebulous and chaotic. He has been called the psychologist of style. He said, "Not to sympathize is not to understand." Some of his important works: Confession of an English Opium Eater, written in 1821. It is his autobiography about his opium addiction and its effect on his life. In this work, he reveals his grotesque humor. It is most illuminating critical work. Second work, On the Knocking at the Gate in Macbeth, written in 1823. It's a critical study of Macbeth. Essay concerns Act 2, Scene 3, that is the porter scene in the tragedy of Macbeth. Third, On Murder Considered as One of the Fine Arts, written 1827. Fourth, Suspiria de Profundis, Sighs from the Depths, written in 1845. It is an essay collection. The English Mail Coach, written in 1849, known as the three-part masterpiece. Last work, Autobiographic Sketches, written in 1853. Fourth, Thomas Love Peacock, from 1785 to 1866. One of the important work is The Four Ages of Poetry, written in 1820. It is an essay which provoked Shelley's defense of poetry. He wrote about the gradual origin and development of poetry in four ages: the age of iron, age of gold, age of silver, and age of brass. Thank you. Fifth essayist of the Romantic Age is Leigh Hunt, from 1784 to 1859. He is primarily known as an essayist and critic. He was known as the first critic. He would praise and criticize writers. He was the co-founder of magazine Examiner. He was a friend of Charles Lamb Hazlitt, and it also known as Hunt Circle. He has a record of introducing poets. Hunt attended Sally's pyre. He went bitterly and could not control his emotions. That has become one of the most famous portraits. Hunt could not stand there, and he left the pyre and ran away towards the beach. Charles Dickens' famous work Bleak House has a character, Harold Skimpole. It is initially based on Leigh Hunt. In fact, he himself said, "I suppose he is the most exact portrait that was ever painted in words." Some of his famous works. Poetical Sketches. It is the first collection of poetry and prose written between 1769 and 1777. 40 copies were published in 1783. The book was never published for the public. Next work, Table Talk, written in 1821. It is a collection of essays. It deals with topics such as art, literature, and philosophy. Next work, Imagination and Fancy, 1844. Wit and Humor, 1846. Thank you.